All right, y'all, here we are at part two of the rise of Islam. Let's continue our learning, our little adventure here through this monotheistic religion. So here we are with Islam, and we will start right about now. All right, so here we go. We're going to be looking at first, all right, the type of government that Muhammad sets up. So, what type of government does Muhammad set up? So, here we go. He's in Medina. Remember, he left Mecca. He went on the Hijra, and he's in Medina now. So, the people of Medina, did they like him or they did not like Muhammad? What do you think? They accepted Muhammad as God's, what do they call him? Prophet. That's right. They liked the guy. And ruler. He actually becomes the ruler in this town of Medina. Muhammad proved to be an able leader. He applied the laws he believed God had given him to all areas of life. He used these laws to settle disputes among the people. Muhammad created in Medina an Islamic, another word, state, just like ISIS is trying to create right now. An Islamic run state, completely governed by the rules that Muhammad thought God was telling him to, or Allah was telling him to have. So the Islamic State is a government that uses its political power to uphold Islam. So this is another way to look at Islam. It's not just a religion. It is a government. Islam is a government used to try to hold up Islam. So that's Muhammad, he required all Muslims to place loyalty to the Islamic State above loyalty to their tribes. So the Bedouin, they're going to start losing their loyalty to their tribes and start having loyalty to Islam. So to defend his new government, Muhammad, he built an army. And I've heard of around 10,000 soldiers. His soldiers, all right, began to conquer around the area, and then finally he goes back to Mecca, and he conquers Mecca. So his soldiers conquer Mecca in 630. And Muhammad then made Mecca a holy city of Islam. Now remember, Mecca used to be a polytheistic city. Now it's being forced to be a monotheistic religion. And then 2 years later, Muhammad, while he's back in Mecca, guess what happens to him? He died. All right. By this time, Islam was spreading to all of the area we call Arabia. Let me show you Arabia real quick and show you where it's all spreading out. So here's Mecca, and Islam is spreading to all of Arabia. You know the song Arabian Nights, Aladdin, and all that stuff. So all this is being taken over by Islam. Very good, very good. All right, here we go. So what does Islam teach? Now this is going to be a real simple version straight from some of the teachings of Islam. Some people disagree with some of these things, but that's okay. Simple version. Here we go. Islam, Judaism, and Christianity have some beliefs that are all very similar or very common. They all have the same beginning. Watch this. Like Jews and Christians, Muslims believe in how many gods? They all believe in one God. There's one similarity. Muslims believe this one God holds all power, just like Jews and Christians, and created not just the people, but the entire universe. Christians teach this, Jews teach this, Muslims teach this. They also believe that God determines what's right and what's wrong. And people are expected to follow the law, God's laws, if they want to be blessed in the afterlife. Jews, Christians, and Muslims also believe that God spoke to people through these other people. What do we call these other people? Called prophets. Okay, for Muslims, early prophets were Abraham, the same one for the Christians and the Jews. Moses, yes, same one for the Christians and the Jews. and Jesus. But this is where things get different for the Christians. Jews don't think Jesus is a prophet, so do Muslims. And finally, there's Muhammad. And only the Muslims think Muhammad is a prophet. For Christians, Jesus was more than a prophet. He was the Son of God. In Islam, Muhammad is seen as what is he seen as? As a prophet and a very good person. Muhammad is not seen as a god to the Muslims, but the most important prophet and the last one. Here we go. So what is the Quran? We're going to talk about the Quran. Muslims write down what do they write down? The words or the message that Muhammad said he received from Allah. These writings became the Quran. So it's the words that Muhammad said. And it became their holy book of Islam. Very important to them. For Muslims, the Quran is God's written word, just like the Bible is to Christians. For this reason, Muslims strive to follow the Quran. The Quran instructs Muslims about how they should live. It's pretty simple. Muslims are told to be honest and treat others fairly. They're told to honor their parents. All right, show kindness to their neighbor and give generously to the poor. There's some similarities there between that and the Jews and the Christians. Murder, lying, and stealing are forbidden. More similarities. Many rules in the Quran applies to Muhammad's many rules in the Quran apply to Muslims' daily life. So how you act every day. According to these rules, Muslims should not eat pork, drink liquor, or they can't gamble. The Quran also had rules about marriage, about divorce and family life, property rights, and business practices. All right, here are some core beliefs here. These are called the 5 pillars of faith, and we're also talking about a thing called the Sunnah. All right, check this out. Muslims are expected to fulfill the 5 pillars of faith. The first one is, they have what's called belief. Muslims must declare that there is no God but Allah, and they have to say, and that Muhammad is his prophet. That's their first core belief of the 5 pillars. Second one we have is prayer. All right, they have to pray. Muslims must pray 5 times a day facing toward their holy city, Mecca, or if they're not in it, they face in the direction of east. That's their second thing, pray 5 times a day. Third thing, alms. So Muslims must give to the poor. Alms is money for the poor. And the fourth thing, they must fast. Fasting. Muslims must not eat from dawn to dusk during their holy month of Ramadan. They have a holy month called Ramadan. And that month is different than ours because it's changed. Their calendar is different. The last thing of their 5 pillars is what's called the Hajj. And this is supposed to be the same thing as what Muhammad did when he came back to Mecca. So Muslims must visit, what city did I just say? Mecca. Once in their life if they can. There's the 5 pillars of Islam. Now, scholars of Islam also create a law code. Hold on, let me show you the 5 pillars real quick and the way they name them before we get anything. Here they are. So they call it Shahada, Salah, Sagat, and Swam, and there's your Hajj. There's your 5 pillars holding up Islam. There's a little crescent moon. Okay, now the Sunnah, really important. Scholars of Islam also created a law code that explains how, society should be run. This code is taken from the Quran, and what's called the Sunnah. The Sunnah is the name given to customs based on Muhammad's words and his deeds. Islam's law codes covers all areas of life that applies to the teachings of Jesus. Muhammad. So I'm going to end